Abso-freaking-lutely. All right. All right. It is 1:15 in the morning, and I finally decided to finish this up. And it's a very big passion of mine to be able to talk about and discuss what it is to be a teacher in the state of Oklahoma. And I'm only going to touch on this for just a small bit of this because a lot of this cast that I'm doing and I'm recording right now is not about me. It is almost a love letter. Sorry, hold on one second. Ooh, ooh. Sorry, clearing my throat. Anyway, it is almost a love letter to a class of students that trusted me and allowed me to live my dream and be a teacher that was a man of his word. And it's what I've always tried to be for all of my students, no matter who or where they come from. I have always said, and these students that I'm going to talk about, they know for a fact that I have never judged. I never will judge because there's no point. One second, clearing my throat again. All right, that should be better. So, just a little background on me. I wanted to be a teacher since I was a sophomore in high school, and um, that's all I ever wanted to be. That's literally all I wanted to be. That's it. I didn't have a backup plan. I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to be a wrestling coach. That is literally all I wanted to be. So when the time came for me to get out of high school and go to college, that was kind of a crap show because I screwed that up. I blew off my classes. So for any students or any of my former students that are listening to this, it's okay that you give it a try, but don't let anyone convince you that attendance doesn't matter. No, you still have to go to classes. They have a lot more relaxed attendance policy, but just because I say relaxed doesn't necessarily mean that you can just blow it off and go play video games in the student union or go meet up with a girl or a guy and everything like that. And then you can just make up an excuse to your professor because, unbelievably so, your professors, they may have, 200 or 300 students a semester, but they are very, very good at remembering the excuses that you use because when you come to their office and you give them an excuse, they will write it down in your file. So if you start using the same excuse over and over again, it's really not going to go good for you. So more than anything, I eventually wanted to be a professor, teach American history in a way that is provocative and in a way that would be easy digestible for students so that they could have a better understanding of the country they live in and the massive amount of responsibility that they have to make up for the failures of the generations that came before them. Because I'm 46 years old, I'm Generation X, and I can openly admit we sucked and we dropped the ball. Generation X has got this amazing mystique and mysterious thing about it that we're the generation of the last generation of latchkey kids and kids that played out until dark and drank from the hose. That's all well and good, but everyone romances it because of the music. They don't look at it as we were the generation that said that we were literally going to change the world. And guess what? We didn't do any of it. Not one bit of it. The second it got tough, The second it got tough, we showed our bellies like little puppies, and then that was it. So, my point that I'm trying to make is that I had a dream at one point in time. And that dream was to stand in front of a class and be an adult that they can count on, be an adult that they can believe in, and more importantly than that, just be a man of my word. So fast forward, I go back to college at the University of Central Oklahoma, and I graduate 2017-18. And then I finally get an interview with a school district in Oklahoma City called Western Heights. I went in, no experience whatsoever, except for my little bit of student teaching that I did. But that's another story that I can go into, the challenges of finishing school. That's a hurricane. Holy crap. That's what it was. But anyways, so I get the job. I'm going to be teaching social studies and English. And I have a partner teacher, and she is, and I'll say this to you right now, my partner teacher, I couldn't have had one better. She is outstanding. We were both bullheaded, but we both put our egos to the side and made sure that the kids knew that they had two people that were constantly rooting for them and that would never give up on them. And the type of school that I was really attracted to was the schools that were what are called Title I's. You guys have heard about that in the news when it comes to things like the presidential election and the dismantling of the Department of Education. One of the things that they're going to try to do is cut funding to Title I schools, which means Title I schools are, the easiest way that I can explain it, a Title I school is one of the schools where families are in dire straits. They are in very dire situations in terms of the money that they bring in, their ability to provide basic needs for students. And I always wanted to work in those kinds of schools because I know for a fact that those students desperately want to escape where they're at. They hate it. They're embarrassed by it. I know that they are. Many of them I pulled to the side and I'd have chit chats with, and they would tell me the horrible things that were going on at home, some of the biggest concerns. And it was heartbreaking completely. And getting to be at that school, I taught 6th grade, and getting to hear some of these students talk about the issues that they have, things like that, it made me want to cheerlead and root for them even more. I was so excited. I got the keys and I got to open my door and I got to sit at my desk, and it was the greatest thing ever because I sat there and I imagined, what would my 16-year-old self say to me right now? And what would I say to him? And it's the one thing that I always told my students to always believe, which is, it's not impossible to get the life that you want. You just have to do what you need to get there. So fast forward, first day of school, and I have these amazing faces. I have posters on the wall. I have my name up behind my desk. There was a there are windows all around on the wall. And up at the top, there were, let's see, one, two, four, five, six, seven or eight, seven ish. Yeah, if 7 or 8 little windows, square windows going across the top and across the ceiling. And that was the wall. And I put my initials, MRPRICE, Mr. Price, right across the top. And um, I wanted the room to be somewhere safe, somewhere fun, and I wanted it to be somewhere where they felt like they can drop the baggage from outside the school at the door, and this is your world. So what happened was we went through the introductions, we got to know each other, and I the one thing that I will say that I absolutely hate more than anything is when teachers from the previous grade will come up to you and they will see who you have on your roster and they will tell you, "Oh man, you got her," or "God, you have no idea how much of a headache that boy's going to be." I mean, that is absolutely deplorable. It is unbelievably terrible for a teacher to ever say that. And I had a couple of students that were pointed out to me, and I got off on the wrong foot immediately when I told the fifth grade teachers, "Yeah, that's great that you had a bad time with them, but let's see what I can do." And I made it a habit that I wasn't going to yell, wasn't going to scream, wasn't going to yell, wasn't going to go crazy on anybody because I'm a big guy. I'm 6 feet tall. I weigh about 335 pounds. I'm built top heavy and I have a booming voice. Right now, I'm muttering. I have the microphone turned up that loud. But the fact is that I believed that being able to talk to students, listening to them, and listening to the things that are bothering them will give me the pathway that I can be able to figure out how I can make this work. Because more than anything, I wanted to make this work. So, a few students I had to take outside to the hallway and have a chit chat, all of it. One student laughed and joked and said, "Man, I'm just going to play football. I'm going to be the greatest wide receiver that the Dallas Cowboys ever had." You know who you are. You know who I'm talking about. And I don't think you want to be drafted to that team this year, bud, or next year. Just saying. But the fact is that for example, my ability to break down those walls for these guys was simple because they gave me everything that I needed. Um, when he said that, I said, "Well, I know you don't like reading, but when it comes time for you to sign this amazing contract with Nike or with the NFL, how are you going to know that they're paying you what they said they're going to pay you?" And he said, "Huh?" I said, "Okay." They lay a contract down in front of you on a table and they say, "Here you go, sign this." Are you just going to blindly sign it? Or are you going to read over it so that you can make sure you're making your money? Make sure that they're following through what they said. And he looked up at me and said, I didn't really think about that. I said, "Yeah, I would hate for you to be the best wide receiver any team's ever signed or drafted, and they promise you 50 million and you don't read through it and you didn't like learning how to read at all, and suddenly you're signing a contract for 15 million. I don't want that for you." So learning how to talk to the students and learning how to make everything that we were learning was very, very important. Completely important. So I remember the coolest thing in the world was when we were getting to know each other, and it was about maybe a month or so in. Then suddenly, I got to meet really cool kids. Like, um, uh, Brain at 1:45 in the morning is not my friend right now, but the thing is that I remember guys like a student named Khalil. Khalil was always trying to find the corner to cut. And I remember I remember making a bet with him. And I told all my students, I was like, man, when I make a bet, just so you know, don't bet me because I'm only going to bet when I know I'm going to win. And Khalil had no problem making bets with me until one day I had heard from other teachers that he was kind of being disruptive. And I said other teachers, the other teacher being my partner. We were only a 2-man team. But Miss McClung sat there and said, yeah, I'm kind of having some issues and I got to keep him close to me. And I said, oh, okay, good. That gives me an idea. So I made a bet with him and I won and I put him right next to my desk. And you couldn't have seen a sadder face on a kid ever. Not unless I completely wiped his cell phone clean. But what Khalil doesn't know is that the kids that I don't have closest to me, the ones that are out there away from me, are the ones that I don't necessarily have to worry about. But it's the ones that I keep closest to me are the ones that I desperately want to help, that I desperately want to be in their corner so that I can help them, so I can help them achieve something so that they can look back at that school year and go, wow, look where I was. Look what I learned. I want them to feel that sense of accomplishment. More than anything, we always had time for fun in class. You can't really learn anything unless you're having some fun with it as well. You know, the old adage, whistle while you work, it's no different than being with students. You cannot be a teacher that is hard-nosed, nose to the grindstone. You can't put that kind of pressure on students nowadays because they will shut down completely. 110%. I always liked to joke when the kids were coming in from from in between classes and everything. Uh, it was awesome because I would have some music playing. We would have a good time, and the coolest part was I had never made a lesson plan, and I had never, in college they give you that computers class where you have to make slides on PowerPoint, and that's great. But I made my own PowerPoint slides, and I would stay on my computer for about 4.5 hours to make slides until finally, right around Thanksgiving break, someone pulled me aside and said, you do realize that the school district can provide you these, right? And I still have some of mine too. One of the best lessons that I got to teach was the roller coaster. And if you don't know what that is, that's in English language arts, all about um, the story outline. Where you go from the initial beginning, you go to the incline, and then you go to the tip top where the uh, peak is. And then you come down, and you come down to the resolution. It's always fun when I can try to remember some of the stuff that I tried to teach because like I said, my brain is absolute mush now. I've been out of teaching for 2 years, so a lot of the stuff is still kind of blah to me. But getting to teach them that, it was so much fun because I really loved being able to teach these things and be able to teach things like I said, the plot outline. Um, it was awesome, and getting to have the instructional coach there and see how I was teaching it and how I was getting through to students meant the world to me because it was the greatest compliment anyone had given me professionally. He said, I like how you said it's a roller coaster. Some of these kids have been to Frontier City, they've been on the roller coaster, they get it. So it was a very, very big deal for me, you know, going from exposition to conflict, rising action, climax, falling action, resolution. When I was teaching it, I would tell them, think of it this way. If you've ever been to Frontier City, have you ever been on a log ride? Most of them raised their hand. Yeah, I've been on a log ride. And then I said, well, you know how sometimes you get the right guy that's operating it up there. He'll get you up there to the top and then he'll stop it. And then you'll be stuck up there. And they were like, yeah, I've had that happen. And then I said, then just as you're just about ready, you think you're ready to go down, but he's holding it, he's holding it, and he's holding it. Then he lets it go. And then you whoosh right down and you hit the water. And then you coast into the finish. I said, that's exactly what great writing will do. It will hold you in that holding pattern way up in the sky before it's time to come down, answer all the questions, settle all the differences, and then you hit the finish. Getting to teach them things like that was awesome. Getting to incorporate in our geography lessons, getting to incorporate a little bit of my humanities, where we talked about the history, yes, but we also talked about the cultures. We also talked about, favorite foods. We also talked about music. I would play music, like whenever we were having to learn about um, Puerto Rico. I threw on some Pitbull. I'm not even going to lie. I loved it. It was great. It was awesome. So, ways that you could differentiate the lessons, but make them still digestible so that they can consume them and they can just easily take them in. I tried my hardest to make each one of my lessons almost like baby food, which, scientifically speaking, you and I both know, if you chew your food 20 times, it creates almost a paste. Your body will absorb everything out of it more if you do it that way. That's the reason why you hear moms and grandmas going, "Ay, mijo, you have to chew your food 20 times." So, then came lunch, which I was a sucker for these kids. I'm not even going to lie. Every time as a classroom we accomplished something, I would go all out and I'd order pizza and I'd let the cafeteria know. And then I'd hand out a couple of slices of pizza and it would be fun. We would enjoy it. And then we'd get right back to class. Me and Mrs. McClung, we were the only two-man teacher group. And so our recess was at the close to the end of the day. So getting to get the kids out close before we put them on buses was awesome. Then we started getting new kids. Not going to name any names, but they know who they are. I remember there was a little bit of a pushback from some of my students, and they didn't quite fully buy in to what I was trying to teach them. And I was a sucker. I've always been a bleeding heart when it comes to being a teacher. It's very difficult for me to be like some of the older teachers where they've just been in it for so long that they're just brick walls. No, I'm Jello. Unbelievably so, I'm Jello. But I remember sitting back going, okay, we're going to have ourselves a classroom discussion. You know how the president says it's the State of the Union? We're going to talk about the class. What do I have to do to get you guys on board? Because I really, really want, more than anything, I want to be able to take your grades and show that front office and say, look at these kids. These are my underdogs. And they are fighting. They are scrappy. They are fighters. They are legit not going down without swinging. Look at how hard they're working. And it was one of the most proud moments ever to be able to tell one of my administrators that I've got the best kids in the entire school. It was a point of pride for me. And so I remember some of them said, well, um, we could try this, we could try that. I'm like, okay, I'll listen to what you got to say. But, if there's something that's cool and I think would work, we'll try it. And then one of the new girls came in. Now, she was awesome. It's not that I don't remember names. It's just y'all are still in school, so I can't really say names. That's a security issue still. But I want to make sure that I maintain your privacy, but also you know who you are and you were in that classroom with us. You know who I'm talking about. It was a lovely, amazing, very polite young lady who joined us. She had an amazing fashion sense. She was wearing the classiest little outfits, and even when it was rainy and muddy outside, she was still wearing these little heels and everything. She just dressed confidently, and it was awesome. It was great. Loved it. And she was incredibly smart too. And I don't really think anybody gave her credit enough for being as honest as she was, because finally she raised her hand when we were having our little classroom discussion. And I said, okay, what do you think? You, you can tell me anything. You can share something with the class. Go for it. She sat there for a second. And I remember she said, well, I don't know about you guys and everything like that, but I really like this class. I really like all y'all, and I really like Mr. Price. But I'm just finding it strange how he's giving everybody all sorts of chances, and nobody's really taking advantage of these chances that he's giving us. Personally, I think Mr. Price that if you're going to give us, if we don't turn it in on time, you're going to take off. You're going to give us a few days to get it turned in so that we don't get, a 50 or worse. If you're going to give us chances, eventually you're going to have to draw the line, and we're just going to have to suck it up because, if you're not handing the work in, you don't have any reason to be upset or angry at Mr. Price, because he's just doing what he's supposed to do. And I swear I simplified it, but I swear everybody stopped. It's like those moments in the movies where everybody stops and then they turn to look at her. And she was like, yeah, I said it. I don't care. And it was right around there. That's when we started having fun in that class, fun learning. And we were all working together, because I firmly believe that if I'm able to find a handful of students who are more than willing to help me help other students, and we lift them up, the whole class wins. I used to have this motto where I said, I win. Just me saying that absolutely makes some of my former students cringe, because they heard me say forever, hey, don't worry about it. I win. And the first time I told them that, I said, you want to know why I win? All I do is win, no matter what. They were like, well, what do you mean? I said, well, let's just say this. Say I give you guys an assignment. I kind of teach you guys how to start writing paragraphs, and I want you to write a page, front and back. And say I give you a month to learn what we're doing, work on it at the same time, bring it to me. I'll help you correct it, and you'll turn in the best paragraph, or the best paragraphs and the best little paper that you've ever written in your life. Oh, okay. And I said, well, say that you hand it in on time and you get an A. You win. The student, you win. Why? Because you put the work in, you followed instructions, and you were able to take what I was teaching you and put it into hands-on work. You were teaching yourself as well. So, teaching is learning. Learning is teaching. Same thing. And not only will you look good and you win, but I win. So I'm the teacher that helped you get there. So everybody wins. Yay. And then one boy sat there and said, well, what happens if we don't hand anything in? I said, well, then things get probably a little rough. It means I have to make phone calls home. And as much as I know how much you like having this school be your little world away from everything and everybody, that means not only am I bringing the front office into this, I'm bringing the counselor into this. I'm also bringing mom and dad into this, or whoever you're living with. That's a lot of people coming into your world, and it's going to make you feel terrible. And I don't want that. So if we work together, things go south. We work together. We both look good. We both win. So how is it that I lose? And they were all like, oh, in fact, there was a student, uh, and every time that last little button would click, you'd hear that voice go, oh. So, but anyways, so we had a cast of characters. The other student that came in from within the school from a different team was told to me that there are going to be times where it could be difficult, but she was absolutely dead brilliant. No lie. Dead brilliant. And she came into our class, and from day one, she was showing out. She was showing how smart she was. She was smart. She understood, as the kids say nowadays, she was understanding the assignment. She straight up came in and started just knocking it out left and right, just completely handing everything in right away. Just, I mean, everything across the board. She was just doing it all. And she didn't say anything disruptive. She didn't say anything negative. Her points that she made were valid. They were very well thought out. And for a sixth grader, I was highly impressed with her direction and her attitude and her knowing that this is work that I have to get done every day. I can't gripe about it. If I gripe about it, it'll make it more difficult. And more than anything, what I want to do is be able to get out of here. She played softball, competitive softball. And I know for a fact that if she wasn't getting her grades, her mom even told me, if she doesn't get her grades, she causes any trouble, man, she's not going to be playing softball. And I know that this girl didn't want to give that up. So having that kind of student in there was outstanding. I mean, she was without a doubt, I gave her the nickname. She was my great white shark because she was coming in and just knocking it out all the way, completely. That she was someone that was coming in. Some of the girls and some of the guys in the class had shown that they really wanted to put the work in and they really wanted to do really, really good. But she came in and absolutely just lit it up. It was like she was the great white shark that was chasing and she was going to catch. She was what was keeping everybody on their toes. And it's those kind of students that come in and they are like a lightning rod. They come in, they energize the classroom. And of course, they're sixth graders. I love y'all to death, but y'all were sixth graders at the time. I never had any suspicions that you guys were up there talking about, oh my gosh, what are we going to learn today in science? Or, oh my gosh, what are we going to have for lunch today? No, y'all were talking about sixth grade business. Y'all were trying to make it as hidden as possible from me. But no, I knew what you guys were talking about. I could hear you in the hallway. That was always a joke. So some of the kids were like, I would catch them, kind of saying something under their breath. And then I'd say, you really don't know that I listened to you guys in the hallway? And I know I'm the English teacher, but y'all coming up with all sorts of different kind of verbs and adjectives and everything like that, and nouns that aren't part of our curriculum. They're not part of our vocabulary words. So we may not want to say some of those, because if I hear enough of those, I'm going to call home and I'm going to share your vocabulary words that you're learning and using and mine. And we're going to discuss with mom and dad or whoever you're living with the difference between mine and yours. That usually put a end to bad words around me. My students knew not to use bad words around me. They know that they're cheat words. Learn words from a dictionary, and you will never be able to have anyone mess with you ever. So, I want you to know that I had spoken. These students mean the world to me, and they mean so much to me that every class I have ever taught, I have told every student that no matter what, if I'm not your teacher next year, or if I end up going to a different school district, it doesn't matter. I am going to always be here for you, and I'm always going to be here so that I can never let you go and never let you feel alone. I will always be in your corner. My investment in you starts now, and it will end the second you guys walk across that stage, because when you walk across that stage, I'm going to be there, and I'm going to be there, the loudest, most obnoxious teacher you ever had, cheering you on to the finish line. And my first students that I ever taught in Western Heights, we still have an amazing chat going on. Of course, they get older. They don't respond nearly as much as they used to the old man. But I can't even begin to tell you how grateful I am for them. And even today, I told them that I was going to send the link to this so that they can hear it. And I'm doing this without a script, so therefore, you're getting raw, honest feelings from me here. And the softball player, she wrote to me saying, somewhere I want to say, when I first transferred to your class, that one little silly thing encouraged me a lot. And that was when I called her the great white shark. Because, man, I know what it is to be that student that some of the teachers absolutely think that you're a pain in the butt. All of that across the board. She never was. I will tell you now, it's almost 40 minutes into this podcast, this recording, and I have never, be it in Western Heights, be it in Guthrie, Oklahoma, be it in Putnam City Public Schools or Geary Public Schools, I have never had a bad student. I don't believe in bad students. I just believe that some students, it takes a little while to reach them, that I don't give up on them at all. So I reached out. I still talk to some of my students. I still talk to the sixth grade class that I taught. They're seniors now. They're graduating in 6 months and ready to take on the world. And I told them at the end of each year, hey, proud of you guys. Hey, love you guys to death. I'd reach out to them sometime in the middle of summer and tell them, hey, we got about a month away from junior year, got a month away from sophomore year, a month away from senior year. A promise was made. And the only thing, my grandfather told me this a long time ago, the only thing that you're born with, the only thing that you'll have when you leave is your word. It's all any of us have. If you make a promise, you follow through. My uncle, who passed away last year, used to tell me that promises are meant to be broken, but guarantees mean that you're bound by your word. And for me, I guaranteed these kids that I would be in their corner no matter what. And I'll read you what my softball player had said. She wanted me to make sure to include the encouraging letters that I wrote for them. So what had happened was I I'm about to shed some secrets. I knew with about a month left of school that the principal at the time, not even going to discuss that person, the principal at that time had decided and thought, well, we're not gonna bring him back. He doesn't really fit in. There's just too much. No. And the fact is, I'll save my opinion for another time when I discuss being a teacher in Oklahoma. But I operated with the last month of the school year knowing that I wasn't going to be there. But I fibbed a little bit to my students and I had told them, and I was looking into moving up to the high school or the middle school because I wanted to move up from sixth grade. I knew that maybe sixth grade was the lowest end that I wanted to go down, but I knew I wanted to go up. And I knew that being able to teach either middle school or high school geography, civics, social studies, whatever, would be right where I wanted to be. Um, so with a month left, I sat down and I started writing three, 2 or 3 letters a week to each one of my students. Um, all of them very encouraging, talking about uh, how, and each one of them different. It wasn't a cut and paste name kind of thing. Like you were in the spelling bee and suddenly you get the same uh, mailed letter with the president's signature and a seal and a certificate in the mail. Thank you for taking part in this. It's not that. Each one of them was different. Each one of them was unique, just as much as those students were. And each one of them, I made sure to have the same message, but it was different flavor ice cream each time. It was still ice cream, but still. And I remember finishing them up and putting my head in my hands, realizing that I wasn't going to see these guys again, but knowing that the next 6 years I needed to continue. I needed to continue. Um, I needed to continue being there for them. And unlike my kids, where I hate feeling like I'm an option, I knew that not being their teacher going forward, but still being in their corner, meant that I was perfectly okay with being an option. If any one of them had ever reached out to me and said, um, I'm having a bad day at home, I'm feeling like I want to run away, or I feel like I want to beat this kid up, what am I going to do? And I would stop everything I could to try to talk to them. I would start by trying to have them tell me what was going on. I would then listen to find out if they were going to verbally, verbalize what the problem was. And usually kids this age in high school and middle school, they will talk it out and then they will say the answer themselves. And I knew that I was going to be an option, but I wanted to be the open option. And I just, I can't begin to tell you how grateful I am for all of it. Um, I just, I I'm finding it, I don't know. It's really thinking about it, just thinking about um everything that we've been through, everything that they've been through. Um, uh, I mean, every single one of the kids has gotten some kind of um, some kind of memory, be it um, dodgeball, be it me almost breaking my foot while playing knockout. Um, just everything. Where we had carpeted floor, and so I took my putter and we would make learning bets on if I could create like a little putt putt course in the classroom, and I would pick someone at random with the popsicle sticks, and I would putt it, and I would give myself a certain number of scores. And sorry, I'm clearing my throat. One second. And man, this throat clearing business is for the birds. But and we would have fun that way. Um, Popsicle sticks were fun. I had my awesome teacher appreciation day, which I got an amazing pie, chocolate pie with this letter P in mini little bite-sized Hershey chocolate bars, and then a Coke Zero, and then all sorts of really good stuff and everything. These guys don't realize exactly how much I appreciated them, because they were able to trust me and allow me to try. Now, did I make this unbelievable, overwhelming, holy crap, world shaking, um, world shaking, uh, difference in their lives? I don't know. Maybe. Um, I just know that, uh, I just know that I am so happy that I got the chance to be their teacher. It has never, I've never felt so, um, never felt so lucky. Getting to wake up in the morning and drive for 30 minutes to come to see them and get there early enough to go through metal detectors, make sure that everybody was safe, see all those faces and listen to all their stories. I can't even begin to tell you how happy every single one of them made me, from the smartest girl in the room to my favorite Harry Potter fan to my big smiling boy that wore his hoodies with pride, to my great white shark, to my smarter than he gives himself credit for athlete, to my soccer players, to my basketballers, to the girls that would chill over in the corner, to the swing set kids, all of them, all of you, all of you did something that I desperately needed. And this is where I tell you why I'm grateful. At the time, I had not seen my oldest daughter in about 3 years. And waking up every day and getting to see you guys, getting to be around you guys, made me the luckiest man on earth, completely. And although I didn't get a chance to follow you guys up to the middle school or to the high school, my promise to you was that I would stick by you through thick and thin. And even though you're graduating in 6 months, still doesn't mean that's going to stop. Because in the end, I'm still going to be in your corner. Each and every single one of you was a piece of a puzzle that I loved having in front of me every single day. Whether you guys were mad at somebody and you wanted to get into a fight, or you were mad at a teacher and you needed a chance to talk about something that was frustrating you, whether you were mad at yourself or mad at stuff that was going on outside, it all mattered to me. It always mattered to me. And although some of you I hear from randomly on occasion, and some people that I speak to almost on a weekly basis, it's okay. The fact that you know that I'm always here, and the fact that you know that I'm always going to be here, that is all that matters to me. So, I cannot believe that 8 years has gone by. 6 years has gone by. Sorry, I can't even. It's 2:00. Sorry. 6 years has gone by so fast. This is how important you guys are. I absolutely have held you guys higher than anyone else. I always put our class picture that we took on the last day up on the wall, and I tell all my students at the very beginning of the day, the first year, the first day, at the very beginning of the class, I tell them, this is what you guys are up against. These are my underdogs. These are the kids who didn't think that they could get stuff done. They didn't believe that they could do anything good, and they did so much. So, from me to you, you guys mean the world to me. I know that I have now a 22-year-old kid who's now married and twin 17-year-olds who are about to graduate high school. But I have the best 20-something kids ever. And there's not a chance that anything could ever come along to make me want to trade for my first year. What would I say to my 16-year-old self? Don't worry, kid, you'll get there. Be patient. And when you get there and you get it in your classroom, you make it worth it. Not only for them, but you make it worth it for you. Because in the end, they are going to be everything you compare everything else to. So, with that being said, it is now 2:07, and I really have got to go to bed. But I wanted to make sure that you all knew. Everybody who listens to this, whether you're a parent, whether you're a teacher, whether you're a student of mine, a former student of mine, doesn't matter. I'm someone who has always taught outside of the box. I don't do things the norm because I don't think that any of our students learn inside the box. I will always teach outside the box in a more humanistic and less I am the teacher, so I am the undeniable force of your universe. That's not how you reach kids. You take a second and you think back and realize how far you've come from their age, and then you try to find a bridge. I'm proud to say that I taught 1 year with these students, 2 years in Guthrie, 1 year in Putnam City, and a little while in Geary. And it was the best time of my life. So no matter what any superintendent has to say, no matter what leadership has to say, I will always try to do what I've always tried to do, and that's be a teacher that those kids can look back on and say, you know what, I had him for a year. I had him for a little while. But man, I remember him, and I remember he was in my corner. I remember he cared. That's all I want more than anything. It's for these kids to know that there are people outside their home, no matter what's going on outside school. Inside school, you're around people that'll keep you safe, but you're around people that will show you day in and day out that you matter. All right, so, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. But anyways, as always, if anybody has any questions, anybody has any ideas for subject matter to go over on this one, this is the first episode of Teaching in Oklahoma, Connections, Students, and me. And until next week, I will see you later. You can reach me. Sorry, I forgot to put this out there. You can email me at complicatedlysimple1978@gmail.com. That again is complicatedlysimple@gmail. Sorry, complicatedlysimple. Jeez, 2:00. complicatedlysimple1978@gmail.com. One more time so I can be sure of it myself. complicatedlysimple1978@gmail.com. If you have any comments, you want to give me ideas for show ideas, you want to ask any questions or anything like that, I will be more than happy to answer any of them. Big shout out also here at the end for my former partner teacher, Miss McClunk. She's now living in North Carolina. She's got a kid and she's doing amazing things with students there. And I desperately wanted to learn so much from her, and she taught me so much. And I'm beyond grateful for her. She taught me more than anyone else did my first year. So I wouldn't be half the teacher I am now if it weren't for her. So, students, we literally have 6 months to go until the end, till you walk across that stage and get your diploma, and then the training wheels are off. Everything's over, everything's done. But more than anything, I want you to know that in the end, no matter how much you feel like you may have wasted time during the first 12 years of your schooling, life is going to teach you so many great lessons, but you have to be open for it. And no matter what happens, I'm always there.